want me to try it again? I can't, honey.
I can't do it. I can't. It's not working.
Everything is such a struggle.
It's just painful to move around right now.
My dad needs help doing everything. We know he hates it, and I know he's embarrassed, but he really struggles.
Michael Dominguez's weight loss journey is one for the books, packed with enough drama to make a soap opera look tame. Picture this, a man who's been battling his weight since childhood, with food as his only friend in a tumultuous household filled with strict rules and boiling anger. It's easy to sit back and think, well, why not just eat less? But let's be real. When you're a kid and the only thing that brings you comfort is a bag of chips or a plate of fries, it's a bit more complicated than that. Little Michael was chubby, sure, but nothing too extreme. However, as he grew older, his love affair with junk food turned into a full-blown addiction, and before he knew it, he was clocking in at a staggering 630 pounds. Before we dive into these jaw-dropping transformations, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more inspiring stories like this one.
Because my dad was strict, and everything had to be a certain way or he would be mad. He had rules for everything, including food. And I was just afraid of him being mad at me. I wanted to take all my fear and just eat, but he wouldn't let me.
And the way I grew up, I couldn't show emotions. You know, any emotion is a sign of weakness.
Now, if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about his family life. The man was practically marinating in isolation, with strained relationships and a temper that flared up more often than not. His wife, Roni, stood by him, trying to lose weight herself and keep the family afloat. But let's not sugarcoat this. She had her hands full. Their two grown kids were left to pick up the slack, handling tasks that Michael and Ronnie simply couldn't manage due to his poor health. It's heartbreaking to think about how loneliness can push someone deeper into the abyss of unhealthy habits.
I met Ronnie. She had 2 kids, Brian and Daniel, which are my kids now. And I'm honored to be called their dad.
But they didn't know they were gonna become my caregivers.
My dad has a problem with food. Every day, all day, he sits there and eats nothing but chocolate, cookies, and it just frustrates me knowing that that's how you got there.
I like eating whatever I want to eat.
Then came the turning point. Michael and his family packed up their lives in Arizona and headed to Houston, Texas to see Dr. Nowzaradan, the man, the myth, the legend. Now, Dr. Now isn't one to mince words. He laid it out for Michael in no uncertain terms. Change your lifestyle or you won't live to see your kids grow up. Harsh? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely. Dr. Now slapped Michael with a strict diet plan that cut out all the junk food and zeroed in on high-protein, low-carb meals. If you've ever tried to break a bad habit, you know how brutal it can be. Multiply that by 1,000 and you might get a glimpse of what Michael was up against.
Especially if something I want, you know, if something I like, I'm gonna keep eating it until I'm full.
So how do you think we can change that if you eat however much you want?
Well, I think the surgery would help me.
So you think that surgery is just going to magically fix your eating problem for you? Are you looking for the solution without knowing what the problem is?
The first few weeks were nothing short of hell-ish. Michael struggled, and when he went back for his second visit with Dr. Now, the results were, well, let's just say they were less than stellar. He had lost some weight, sure, but not nearly enough to make Dr. Now happy. And here's where the real talk comes in. Surgery isn't a magic wand. It's a tool, and without commitment, it might as well be a paperweight. Old habits die hard, and Michael was learning that the hard way.
We're not here for vacation. I'm just trying to get the help that I need. And I've been working to stay on the diet, but I know I haven't been as active as I should because my knees have been hurting. I wish I could do a little bit more, but little by little, we'll get to that point soon.
Are you hungry?
Yeah.
You want a couple of eggs?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
But slowly, and I mean slowly, things started to turn around. Michael lost more weight and began inching closer to the goal he needed to reach for surgery. The progress was like watching paint dry, but hey, losing weight is a marathon, not a sprint. Every pound shed was a small victory, and every slip-up was a lesson learned. Finally, Michael hit that elusive weight loss goal, and Dr. Now performed a gastric bypass surgery. The operation was a success, and by the end of his episode, Michael had dropped over 300 pounds. He was healthier, more mobile, and for the first time in a long time, he had a glimmer of hope for the future.
It's not as much as I wanted you to lose, but 84 pounds still show me a good amount of progress. So I'm approving you for weight loss surgery. The first month, Michael had me wondering if he was going to get his act together. But I think he's made it to a good place. 84 pounds is enough to show me that he's making the changes he needs, and he's sticking to the diet now.
Rena Kaiser's journey on the show is nothing short of a wild ride. Imagine being stuck in a never-ending loop where your closest friend is also your worst enemy: food. For Rena, this wasn't just a casual relationship with snacks. It was a full-blown, all-consuming affair that started in her childhood. Food was her go-to comfort, the only thing that didn't judge or abandon her. But as they say, too much of a good thing can be deadly. The comfort she sought in food turned into a trap, and before she knew it, her weight spiraled out of control, dragging her down into an abyss of emotional and physical suffering.
My body feels like I'm in a prison. I'm just trapped.
It's torture every day. And
my body is so bad now that I'm even having trouble breathing. But I can't even take the time to worry about myself because my boyfriend can't do anything for himself anymore.
Then, just when you think the plot can't thicken anymore, enter Lee Sutton. Lee, because what's a good story without a complicated love interest? Rena met Lee at a bariatric rehabilitation center, and their connection was instant, like something out of a soap opera. But of course, life isn't that simple. The rehab center had one pesky rule: no romantic relationships between residents. Imagine being in a place trying to save your life, only to find love standing in the way. Do you choose the path that could lead to your salvation, or do you follow your heart, even if it means risking everything? They chose love, and let's just say things didn't exactly go as planned. Leaving the center led to their weight spiraling out of control again. Because who needs health when you've got love, right?
We started spending a lot of time together. And then we were an item at the clinic, but that broke the rules there. So we either had to stop dating or leave.
They would get onto us for holding hands. They would get onto us for showing any kind of emotion or attention to each other. So we just decided we wanted to be together. We wanted a relationship.
We loved each other, and we've stayed together over the past 11 years since leaving the clinic.
But here's the kicker. They eventually sought help from Dr. Nowzaradan, the man with a plan who doesn't sugarcoat anything, literally or figuratively. Meeting Dr. Now is like standing in front of a human lie detector. You can't hide from him, and he'll call you out faster than you can say, "Pass the fries." Rena and Lee walked into that consultation with a mix of hope and fear, probably wondering if they had made the right choice by leaving the rehab center in the first place.
It was hard to hear everything Dr. Now had to say about how close to death we are and how bad our situation really is. And I don't know what's worse, to die too early or to lose Lee first.
If we don't do this, we ain't got a chance in hell. So it's not really a choice.
Dr. Now didn't just hand them a diet plan and wish them luck. No, he laid out a strict regimen and light physical activities to kickstart their weight loss journey. Despite Lee's struggles to keep up, Rena powered through like a warrior on a mission. She reached a milestone that many can only dream of. She lost enough weight to consider surgery. Now, imagine the relief she must have felt. After years of fighting what seemed like a losing battle, she finally saw a glimmer of hope. The surgery was a success, marking a pivotal moment in her journey. It wasn't just about shedding pounds, it was about reclaiming her life from the clutches of despair.
I've been really encouraged by these last couple of months because I feel like we're working together instead of against each other. So I'm really thankful for how things are right now and for how hard Lee has been trying to improve himself.
Okay, Lee, looked like you're down to 441.
If you're amazed by these shocking weight loss journeys so far, please give this video a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which story has inspired you the most. Laura Perez's story on the show isn't just about dropping numbers on a scale, it's a whole saga of UPS, downs, and enough drama to fill a soap opera. Picture this, a little girl, just 5 years old, facing a traumatic experience and turning to food as her only comfort. Yeah, it sounds like the beginning of one of those dark, gritty indie movies, doesn't it? Food became her armor, her shield from a world that had already shown her its ugliest side. But let's be real, when food turns into your security blanket, it's a slippery slope to a much bigger problem, literally.
Growing up, my weight wasn't much of an issue. But I started to gain weight when I was 5. An older cousin of mine molested me.
He would just touch me and stuff. I never told my parents anything.
Fast forward, and life decides to throw another curveball her way, her parents divorce. Now, divorce is rough on any kid, but when you're already seeking comfort in the fridge, it's like adding gasoline to a fire. Laura doubled down on her eating habits, thinking it would keep her safe from the chaos around her. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But isn't that the twisted irony? We cling to these self-destructive habits thinking they'll protect us, only to find out they're the ones digging our graves. Dark, right? But that's the harsh reality.
I like the way she was.
I've gained a lot more weight since then. Now I feel like I've become this burden in his life.
Can I have something from the sweet bin?
Just someone he has to take care of.
Some of the things I do for her may not be good for her, like the sweets and other stuff, but she means the world to me. I love my wife a lot.
Then comes the knight in shining scrubs, Dr. Now. If you've watched the show, you know this guy isn't here to hold your hand and sing you lullabies. No, Dr. Now is more like the drill sergeant of weight loss. Strict, blunt, and not afraid to dish out some tough love. Honestly, he's the last guy you want to piss off, especially if you're trying to shed those extra pounds. Laura reached out to him, desperate to take back control of her spiraling health. And Dr. Now? Well, he gave her a plan that was more ironclad than a prison diet. Think high school cafeteria food, but worse. Way worse.
You know, I never seen anybody that's overweight doesn't have enable people around them support them. It should be the opposite. They should tell you you shouldn't have that. And so you carrying oxygen with you all the time?
Yes.
Okay. And you are diabetic? Now, Laura is at her limit, and the family is the one pushing her there.
But let's get real here. Breaking lifelong habits isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's more like trying to climb Mount Everest with a donut dangling in front of you. Old habits die hard, and for Laura, they clung on like a bad tattoo. It's like knowing you should eat that salad, but somehow you end up inhaling a pizza instead. Sound familiar? That's the eternal struggle, folks. Wanting to change, but being held hostage by your own cravings. Dieting isn't just a battle of the bulge, it's a psychological war zone.
Her surgery did not go as we planned. but we accomplished some sort of weight loss operation. But under circumstances, that's the only tool we can offer for Laura. So she should recover well, and she should still start losing weight when she go home.
Now, if you thought the surgery part of Laura's journey would be smooth sailing, think again. Dr. Now initially planned a gastric bypass, but surprise, surprise, Laura's liver and spleen were so enlarged, he had to switch to a gastrectomy. Just when you think it couldn't get more dramatic, Laura nearly dies from pneumonia post-surgery. But she's a fighter, and by the end of her time on TLC, she managed to shed an unbelievable 237 pounds, bringing her down to 182 pounds.
I can do so much more now. I can get around without a wheelchair or any oxygen. I feel like a new person. I can shop at more places like normal people do.
When David Nelson first popped up on the show, it was like watching a slow-motion train wreck, and you just knew it wasn't going to be pretty. At 30, David wasn't just carrying a few extra pounds. He was practically drowning in his own body, barely able to breathe without feeling like the world was closing in on him. And honestly, can we really blame him for reaching such a dire point? His life was a veritable buffet of bad luck and misery, with every possible obstacle thrown his way.
It's so hard to force myself to get up in the mornings because my back is messed up from my weight. The back started getting so bad. I'm in agonizing pain. That's when my weight really been taking its toll.
David's early life was a nightmare, straight out of a Dickens novel. Born to a mother whose idea of a good time involved a needle full of heroin and a father who bolted faster than you can say responsibility, he was tossed into the foster care system like an unwanted toy. He was shuffled from home to home, where food wasn't exactly a guarantee. It was more like a cruel game of chance. Sometimes there was too much, and other times, well, you were better off imagining a sandwich than actually eating one. This feast or famine lifestyle turned eating into a survival sport for David. Whenever there was food, he ate like it was his last meal, not knowing when or if he'd eat again.
My birth mom was 13 years old when she had me, and she was using cocaine. And my birth dad wasn't around. And so I went right into foster care. I bounced around to different foster care houses while I was young. Sometimes I was put in houses that weren't very good with foster parents that didn't really care about kids. Some people are just in it for the money that the state gives them for taking in kids. We'd eat really poorly. So from an early age, I learned to eat as much as I could.
As he stumbled into adulthood, David somehow managed to hold down a job. First at Walmart, because nothing says, "I've made it," like a blue vest and minimum wage, and then as a truck driver. Now, being a truck driver might sound like freedom to some, but let's be real, it's a lonely existence. Just you, the open road, and a diet consisting of whatever grease-laden monstrosity you can grab at the next truck stop. It was less a job and more a slow descent into isolation, where fast food became his only reliable companion.
Started working, driving forklift and in trucks for farmers. And then that got me into long-distance driving. I wanted to see the United States, and I could afford to because when I was sleeping in my semi-truck, I didn't have to pay rent. So I got to see all the states. I didn't leave the road for a year. This was pretty cool. But at the same time, on an emotional level, I noticed that I was depressed. And I kept eating fast food because that is what's available on the road.
Then, the big scare. David developed cellulitis, a nasty infection that flirted with death and left him clinging to life by a thread. At 763 pounds, it was a miracle he hadn't already met his maker. Desperate and terrified, David reached out to Dr. Nowzaradan, hoping the good doctor could pull off some kind of medical Hail Mary. But even David knew this wasn't going to be some fairy tale miracle. It was going to be an uphill battle with no guarantees.
And by the time I made it, my back was super weak, my legs were super weak, and I could barely walk. And they sent me to the emergency room. I had a severe cellulitis infection. And after some physical therapy and a bunch of antibiotics and tests and stuff, they got rid of the cellulitis infection. But I was a mess. And that's when I reached out to Robin. That's when I decided to try to lose weight.
For a brief moment, David became an inspiration, a beacon of hope for anyone who's ever been crushed by life's unfairness. He managed to drop 68 pounds in a matter of months. But life doesn't just let you win that easily, does it? David hit a rough patch and slid right back into old habits, undoing all his hard work. And just like that, Dr. Now was like, "No surgery for you, buddy." It was a brutal wake-up call. But did David give up? Nope. He dug deep, probably into reserves of strength he didn't even know he had, and shed 94 pounds, dragging himself back on track for surgery. Now, if you were inspired by these stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content. Do not forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay motivated and stay strong.
Instead of losing 30 pounds, you gain 38 pounds. So you're just about 70 pounds away from where you should be today. So we're not going to be able to do your surgery. So I'm canceling it because of your weight gain, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what happened?
Yeah, it was just stressful with the move and everything, and I think got off track a little bit, so